Hello. Oh, there we go. Okay, I chose the wrong mic source. Sorry. It's still the wrong source, but I know how to fix it. Chose my headset instead of the Blue Yeti. Forgot. All right. The music looks a little loud on the. Actually, yeah, a little bit. Let me turn that down a bit. 20 decibels seems okay. All right. Today I have no agenda. So let's make one, I guess. I have a few projects that I've been working on currently, and it is mostly the Evolution Simulator version 2, the drone AI. I'm not sure which one I should use. I have 2 drone AIs. This looks like it's mostly the driving AI. Let's just keep those separate. Okay, so we got the drone AI, the Evolution Simulator version 2, and another thing I've been doing is working on a neural network tutorial, which kind of ties into both of those because they both use it. Let's say NN tutorial. Oh wait, I want that to be a page. Let me just turn it into one, can I? Okay. I feel weird being on the good side. I moved it before. Okay, now let's get the monitor working again. Forgot about that. Sorry, guys. Screen capture. Display capture. Sure, we'll add this one. Oh wait. We have a display capture. What's wrong with it? Okay. Problem solved. Okay. Sorry, but I was talking before without realizing you guys couldn't see what I was doing. But yeah, my main 3 projects right now are the drone, the Evolution Simulator, and a neural network tutorial, which is part of both of those. So I moved them down here. I also should change my monitor's resolution so you guys could see a little better. Sorry about that. Nope, not that. Okay. Wrong one. Okay. Those settings. Did that help? I think it did a little bit. What should I get started with? That's empty. Oh, did I just make that? So drone AI has its due. I could start working on this first. Let me just think about it for a second. What do we have to do next? Up next. Change the distance to target in neural network script so it never goes above 1. Right now it's unbounded, so large distance. I already did that. Make the next target glow for viewers. Done. Make score more reasonable. Done that too. I guess I did a lot without looking at this to-do list, and I just did everything. Show the current score on screen, I did not do. Show the time on screen, I'd like to do as well. Fix issue where any script causes drones to break. That one, I don't actually know why it's happening. I do know why it's happening, but I don't know the easy fix for it. So I might have to look into that a little bit while we're through the code. Okay. Poster, I forgot. Oh, how's the audio level on this? This is a different mic than I usually use. Seems fine. Okay. Well, I guess we should start off by opening up Unity. What do we have open right now? Driving and Evolution Simulator, the two that we don't want. Yeah, so let's open up our drone AI at least. I do want to get working with ML agents too at some point. So I think the first... Hi, Blue Whale. Welcome. How is it going? So I might start working on the projects a little bit, but another thing that I want to do today is update the neural network script that's not in the code. It's like a neural network template. That's what the word I'm looking for. Because I want to make a tutorial about it, but I have this neural network for viewer script somewhere. Yeah, here. And it could use a little bit of cleaning up, and it's a little messy. Like, I left in some comment code as an example, but I feel like that makes it more confusing, seeing random snippets of code. All of the other comments are like useful comments, but I think I should get rid of the random stuff and organize everything a little better. I could possibly do that on stream, but that seems more of an off-stream job. But I will be walking through a neural network during it, so it's possible that could be an on-stream thing. Let's see what we got right now. Because last time I remember there were some errors, and I just want to make sure that we fixed everything. Okay. Oh, okay. That was the weird error where it didn't work the first round. Alright, what's going on now? Oh, we're not mutating them at all. And I could just load a brain. Load round. Let's see how they... Okay. Okay, so right now there's a flying rock because I was trying to make the drone that's in focus be highlighted. Let's add some randomness so you can actually see what's going on. So this is the drone that we're following with the camera, and I wanted to highlight it, so for now I just put a rock on it because I was just showing that the tracking worked. So we could change this object to anything we want now. I was thinking of making it kind of similar to the yellow glow of the target, which I also changed. Why can't I zoom out? There we go. But yeah, so what I want to do right now is just do some of our to-dos, and I think the first one that's easiest is just showing the current score on the screen. We could see the best scores down here if I scroll down, but we can't see them getting that in real time. And I want to be able to fly this too, so getting instant feedback is good for that as well. So where would I do that? On the camera? The camera has best score, and it does update sometimes, but not all the time. I want something that updates in real time. I guess let's take a look at the script. So I have the target. Current target is the game object. So I could get the drone script from the current target, which would then have the score in it. Yeah, so I do get the drone script. But right now I'm only doing it... Is this on update? Oh no, if change target is true. Okay. That's what I thought. So it's not happening every frame. Okay, so we could say, we could make a new public variable. Current target score. Current target score. Start that at 0 if we want. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna set this on update every time. We already have this checked to see if current target exists, so we'll just do it in here. And we should do this after that. Current target score equals... I don't like how I'm doing get component twice. I should really just do that once. I think I will. So if we know current target, so if current target is a thing, then we should set a variable called, oh wait, current target equals drone. Current target drone script equals drone dot. Oh wait, I already have drone script. Okay, equals drone script. Perfect. I didn't make this yet, right? Why am I not getting errors? Okay. So this script should work now. So we should get the drone script here, so now I don't have to do it every single time. So anywhere I see get component drone, I could just replace that with current drone script. Current target drone script. Slightly long name, but that's okay. Dot score. I want to test this. You know, let's hook up our UI element first. Okay. Broken. That's something I wanted to fix too. So is this where all of our canvas items are? Isn't it? I didn't make all these. So this motor UI, I'm guessing, would be this guy. Yeah, okay. This makes sense then. What's that +4? It's an empty game object, just that way? Okay. We'll just make it text for now. That 888999, is that C#? Haven't used it. Haven't used Unity before. Yeah, it is. I think, yeah, Unity uses C#. I think you could also use JavaScript, but I've never done that. And I think the normal is C#, yeah. I always forget how to access text easily. Oh, I could just, okay, yes, that's what you do. Make a placeholder for it in my script. I was thinking the other way around for some reason. I don't know what this would be. Is it text? Let's Google the syntax real quick. I already have the UI engine. That's not it? I think that's it. That was my first guess, but it just didn't show me the highlighted code. For UI, and we're going to say, I want to get the text of that. So we're going to say on update in here. We actually don't even need this variable at all, but I already made it, so I might as well just use it. Score UI.text equals current target score. I'm not sure if I've cast that to a string or if Unity's smart enough to figure that out. I have to switch it to a string. Guessing. I also have to connect it before I can run it. Scorekeeper here. Should see a new text thing, except there is an error. Cannot convert string. I think that's what I thought. Cast in C#. Done this so many times. Yeah, what? I thought it might figure it out. How do you cast a string in C#? I'm really just wondering if it's a capital S or not. No? Maybe? We'll try it. Oh no, it's lowercase. Why am I doing that? I'm a little rusty, okay? Oh, instead of casting it, you could do .toString. Oh, does that work? And the end of an object. So, oh, at the end of an object. So no, it's small s. Not sure if this is gonna work, the 2 string. Did you mean it has to be like... I don't think that's gonna work just because it's not looking right. Maybe it will. Oh, did it work? I think it worked. Possibly. So now we gotta connect our score. Yeah, that's why I wasn't sure. I'm not sure why it's not autofilling. I might have to restart VS Code. That's been a lot of the reasons for my Googling just now. Gotta mute in the game. No problem. Okay, their score. Make that look nicer. Oh, hiding it. Maybe the score should go on the top right. I don't know. I'll do that for now. I like to make the font size a little bigger and then also increase the size of this box. Do that, I forget. There's an easy way to like drag it around. Yeah, I didn't want it to be, oh, I might have to make it a text mesh pro. I don't want it pixelated like that. Why is it so pixelated right now? Yeah, let's fix that while we're here. I was just gonna say I'll do it later, but we're already in here. I'm just looking at how to import that into Unity. Okay. I thought I totally did this different. How to use text Mesh Pro in script. Is that why it's blurry right now, or am I doing something else wrong? Okay. Quick start guide open right here. Oh, that's right. Okay, I gotta fix this VS Code thing. Let me just close all this stuff. Reopen the script, because that is getting annoying. Keeps going to the bottom and it's not auto-filling. Let's see if that fixed it. Oh, I don't have to change that. Okay. Just have to relink it. Expected a semicolon. You did. You did expect that. Okay. Okay, that worked. I'm going to rename this. Score. Delete this guy. And to this over here. Wait, no? You're so close. You're not a text mesh, are you? Text Mesh Pro. This is Text Mesh Pro. I don't see the issue here, guys. They do say, yeah, Text Mesh Pro text. Try that. It's being weird. Does this work? Okay. Easy problem made difficult for no reason. See the score go up instead of down. Adding some randomness, and then also I'll just load the best guys. Cool. That. The other guy. This one I know I could actually just scale because I think it's like vectorized. So it responds nicely to being resized. Ready. Let's run it. I'll start that off at 0. Also, looks like I have to keep doing this. Let's put back our randomness and put back our load round. Now it should just start with good flyers. There we go. Cool. So this is the score for the drone that's in focus, which is a little weird because it does jitter around sometimes. But then again, so are all the controls. Everything on screen is for the drone that we're looking at. So if you were flying the drone, these controls would be for you. I would like to add better manual controls too. That's kind of a to-do. Show current score on the screen. It's simple right now, but it works. I could add the time on the screen, but I don't know if that's too much information. Did that. I think I kind of did that actually. Okay. Another thing that I want to work on is allowing user to fly drones. I want to be able to fly the drone basically. I can, but it's a little weird because I have to like hijack one of the AIs, shut off its brain, and then I can start flying. So there has to be a better manual mode so you could judge how well the drones are doing, or compare your own skills against the AI. It'd be cool to do it side by side too. You could fly with the AI. That'd be neat. Oh, they're all turning yellow. So what I do is when normally the way it used to work was the drone that was in focus, its propellers would turn yellow, kind of the way that the rock's moving. But it's supposed to turn back to red. So the reason they're all yellow right now is because they've all been touched by the camera, basically. So to fix that, we need to look at some of our scripts. That would be in the... That's also in the camera script, I think. So we're gonna do there. Running UI. Touching themselves. Are they still in here? These are obviously car. Thanks. With drones now. So this is where we set the highlighter, but okay, so focus material is here. Right here. That's not gonna work because it doesn't have this. That should work. I knew it was something that used to work, so I guess I just commented it out without realizing. It's gonna take a little bit for us to see if that's working. I think I could already tell though. I don't see any lingering yellows. Actually, we shouldn't see any yellow drones because the rock's on top of the yellow guy. Let's change the rock. Where's the highlighter? We can make the highlighter anything, so we don't have to change the rock. We just have to change what's on the script. Let's go and spend time. It's just fun watching. Okay. Not you, Evolution Simulator. So what do we want to put on top of our object in focus? I actually don't know, because we're already using like the yellow orb for the targets, and that would be the best bet. How else could you show a selection? And you could probably like highlight it, but that's not really how I'm doing it right now. I could highlight it somehow. I could make a copy of our drone. So this is our drone right now. Copy it. What if I just edit it? Let's see. What's the gamma? Oh wait, no. Not gizmo radius. I give this thing a lens flare? I want it to be on the lens of the camera though. No, not lens flare. That's not what I'm looking for. Like a glow. It's a halo. Either way, I have to go to the camera script. They have to put this on in here first. And then turn off these scripts. I want the lens flare, I don't think. And what I want to try to do is put this on the camera instead of the stone. Do anything? Not horrible. That's actually kind of cool if we tone it down. Yeah, you know what? I like that a little bit. It's a little weird looking because it kind of fades things away. Let's see what it looks like when we tone it down a bit. Where is that guy? Be here. So let's say size is 1. I don't hate it. Color is a little gray. I think we want to make it a little like some color. I don't know. Make it greener. Already blue. Already got yellows. Honestly, just white's fine if we bring down the opacity. I guess you can adjust the opacity of this thing because it is light. Is that obvious? I don't think I like it. If it was just a little bit bigger, 1.5. Not too big. And that's too bright. Oh, I thought I adjusted it. Okay, now what about 1.5? It's a little... What if we zoom out? Can you see that from far away? I mean, yeah, you can. Usually another thing I do is I put the highest score on screen too. So we can see if they're improving. But something I did with the evolution simulator recently is I put a whole graph. And that'd be really cool to do. With the stats of a round-based system. I think that's a to-do, though. I don't think I'm going to do that today. Add graph for the high scores, moving average, and high scores, moving average, and top average. That's the average of the top performers, however many top drones you want. And those top drones are the ones that get copied to the rest of the drones. So if you only have one top drone, the average will be that drone score. Okay dokie. I don't like that. I'll fix it at some point, but at least we have it not being a rock. I could probably find something better than a halo. And maybe 2. Okay. Let's change that down here. I guess the color was okay. The UI again. I hope the NVIDIA broadcast is working because my dog's chewing on an annoying toy. Sorry, I'm just opening up chat on a different monitor. Okay. I am mentally back. So there's a lot more we could obviously do with this drone simulator, but I think I just want to, for me, I just want to tackle the neural network script. It's going to be a little bit of boring work, but if you have any questions, let me know. Oh wait, that's in here too, actually. It's actually in the same project. I was opening up a new window because I thought it was a different project. I might have to take my dog out in a minute. He goes downstairs or not. Okay, so this is the neural network script that I want to adjust. So you know what I should do? I think I'm just going to delete all the example code because it's really not explained and it's kind of more confusing for somebody looking at this template. And then I want to try to walk through the flow of the code because I'm going to make a tutorial out of this. So let's just delete all of the extra code that just somebody wouldn't need, because my idea is I'm just going to have an example project instead of having the examples in this file. So there's going to be this file as the template that you could use or just read through if you're interested in learning about it, and then have a whole project that's an example of this being implemented. I'm happy with that. Okay, so here, like here I said, this is an example how I use the output array in my driving AI video. So yeah, the outputs of the brain output would control the car, throttle, the turn, the drift, and the boost. I mean, that's kind of useful, but maybe that one could stay. That one seems useful. I don't actually think there's too much more anywhere. Okay. Let's full screen this. I will move my head out of the way. Because we're looking at code now. Okay, so start. This is where we initialize everything. Do I start the tutorial here? I don't think so. You just say that. Okay, so this is the size of our network up here. We have 4 inputs to the network. There are 2 hidden layers. These should really be switched. There are 2 hidden layers. And each hidden layer has 8 nodes. That's why I switched it, because it just made sense to think about it in that order. And then we have 4 outputs. So it would look like 4 circles, 8 circles, 8 circles, 4 circles. That's our network. And we have the layers array, which is an array of classes. That's the only thing that I think I'm going to lose people on if they're new to programming, kind of, if they don't really know how classes work. Because the way that it's set up right now is there's this layer class, and it has the weights, the biases, and it kind of has the output. It doesn't really store it there, it just calculates it and temporarily uses this variable. But the weights and the biases are actually in the class all the time. The outputs get recalculated every frame, so it's not really important what's in there, like that's stored in there. That's just constantly changing. It's more of a placeholder. So this is when we first create the layer. We randomize all the values. My dog is going downstairs. So that is my cue to take a little break. Hey, look at that. I even left the dog going outside thing on it. Let's see, does my mic muting still work? Alright, be right back. All right. I am back. Let's fix this. All right. Where'd I go? There we go. Okay, where was I when I got slightly interrupted? Alright, so the way that I want this to work, I was actually making a slide about it earlier. I had it on Google Slides, I don't know where that went. Oh, here. So we have the brain function, which is like the main function that runs the network. And this is during the running of the round, not the modifying of the network. So I want to show that part first, where we just execute a trained network. So you give it the inputs, and then there's a forward pass, activation pass on the inputs, on the input layer. And then we have two hidden layers, I said. So we do the forward pass and the activation on the first hidden layer. Then we just do a forward pass on the last one, because the outputs of that are the outputs of the network. You could also do another activation if you want, but I want negative numbers too, so we don't want to cut off things below 0, which is why we just straight up give the output here. And I want that to be shown in code when I walk through it, that flow. So maybe what I need to do is just talk about it differently. So we start off with the brain right here. We give it the inputs to the network, and this is what you hook up to your agent. So if you have raycasts, you would use the lengths of the raycast as your inputs, and then you give that to your brain, and your brain, basically what it does is it takes your inputs, runs it through the network that's already been trained, and gives you your outputs. And that's all that you need to know to get a network to work. But how the brain works itself is it uses a combination of forward passes and activation functions on each layer. I'm doing like a practice run. Sorry guys. It's not really a practice run. I'm just like talking through it as if I'm explaining it to somebody. This is confusing. It shouldn't be set up this way, and I've thought of this in the past. Because right now it doesn't look like we're doing forward pass activation. Like it's kind of pairs. Like you saw on the slide, it's like this is a pair, forward activation, forward, no activation the last time. It's the same exact thing here, but it just looks weird because we're doing a forward pass, then we're doing an activation and a forward pass. So instead of it being paired like this, it's being paired like this, but the first one doesn't have an activation. So it goes this, and then these two, then these two, and then we pop out. But it makes more sense to group these together. So having the code do that weird mental gymnastics makes it more confusing. And I don't want this to be confusing at all. So what I really want to say here is like I want to be able to just have a new thing here and this be activation. But something that I also saw that happens often is the activation function is inside of the forward pass, or it is the forward pass itself. When you're using libraries like PyTorch. It's a little slow. Can't really hear the music too well, but okay, so this is what I want to do. Currently this won't work because the activation function actually isn't in our layer, But like I was saying, I think we could actually just put the activation function in our forward pass. Make it part of it. So right now we have our forward pass here, and then we output. Oh, okay, I see what the problem is. So if we put the activation function inside of our forward pass, then on the last forward pass we can't separate it from the activation. Because the last time we don't want to do the activation, so if we put it in here, we have to have some way to turn it off. I still think that putting it in here is a good idea. So it would be... I can't run this code because it's not hooked up to anything. So it's kind of scary to change it. But then after I set this all up, I'm going to make the example out of it, so I'll know if anything needs to be fixed. Basically, I want to do the activation function on the output array before it comes out. And then in here, we don't need this anymore. We don't need to do the activation here. We just give it the layer for its output array. We don't do the activation on it then, which makes more sense. It's kind of what we were doing, but now we're just doing it in a different step. And actually, if we just want to... If we wanted to, we could say... No, I don't like it. I'm not even going to say it because it's sloppy. But right here, we're going to put our activation function of our output array. Of this output array. So why do I make this? So I want to inject this in between here. To do that, we just say activation of that guy is what we actually want to output. But now, if we want to shut this off, do I ever use the output of a forward function in that way? No, there is no return. Why do I return anything? Weird. So we could actually fix that too. The forward function doesn't return an array. It doesn't need to return anything. So what we can do instead is just not return anything. Do you have to return from a function? I don't think so. If you have a void, at least. Because now this modifies the output array. But what we want to do here is say if something, if use activation. So if that's true, then we use the activation function. And this could actually be like a switch case eventually, and you have different activation functions in here. Okay, so this is what we had before, and this is what we have now, but now I have to add this variable, this boolean. So I have to add it as an input to the function. That was my thought when I was thinking about it. Use activation, goes there. So now when we call this function, we could say whether or not we want to use the activation function. So now instead of this, we say use activation, because we do on this in this case, so this is going to be true. But then on the very last one, which this isn't actually doing. Oh, okay, so we're gonna have to also reverse our logic. So on the first, before we were just only doing the forward pass on the first pass, but now we want to do it for all of them except for the last. So I think you get the last by just saying I equals layers dot length -1. Do that. So then this would be false in this case, and true in all the others. And that looks a little better. Because now you could just say, does not equal. I want those reversed. Sorry, I was cut myself off there. Because it logically makes sense to go the other way. Might have to be right back again. But I'm glad I figured that out. That's much nicer, much cleaner, because now you know the forward pass has an activation in here, if that's true. Then on the last one it's not, so it's false. Okay. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. Okay. So we simplified that. That makes more sense. I think that's a good place to start. Oh, that's weird. Well, maybe I was wrong. No. I was right. Okay. Because I thought for a second that the inputs don't get the activation function applied because they're the inputs, but it's after the weights are already multiplied with the inputs that you apply the and the bias gets added that you do the activation. So it's basically which nodes are active in the next layer, which is how it works. If we did it by hand, that's how I would do it. Copy layers is not part of this, so we should really put that at the bottom. I want to separate the functions that are part of training the network from the functions that are part of running the network, if that makes sense. So what's the term for running a network? So there's activation. There is also the randomness function, which could go, it has to be in the class though, so I can't really separate it out, but it could go below the forward instead. Okay. So this section right here applies randomness to the weights, and this applies it to the biases, but I think that might be part of a different video. Maybe I'll just keep this video super short. I'll literally just talk about just the forward pass, basically. And then in a different video, I'll talk about how you actually set up an environment to train a network. And this could be part of that, because when you train the network, in between rounds you apply randomness, and after you apply before you apply the randomness, you copy all the brains from the other from the best performers, or in our case drones right now. So you copy all the brains from the best drones, and then you apply randomness to it. So that's part of the training part of the network, which I plan on making a separate video for, because you also have to set up a whole training environment, and I have some tips for setting that up. So I think that would be useful in that one. But if you just want to understand how to make a neural network, it's just the forward pass and the weights and biases. That's literally it. I wish people just start with that in like AI courses. Because they start off by showing you all the complicated equations for it, and then they automatically skip to different, more complex AI. But really, this is it's pretty simple. You give it your inputs, and it applies a forward pass to it for each layer, and an activation, except for the last layer. But you could do an activation if you felt like it on the last layer. And this forward pass, all that it does is it okay, so it starts here basically. It multiplies the weights times the inputs right here. So the inputs up from the previous layer times the weights, and then it just adds the bias. That's it. It's so simple. It loops over it loops over the array though, so that's the only complicated coding part. Is just once you have it set up in the format of arrays, it's easy to loop over it. And then you just add the biases, and then you perform your activation function, which is so simple as well, because it literally, when you're using Relu at least, it's pretty simple. It literally says if the input is less than 0, it's 0. So if you have a negative number, it just becomes 0. That node is off. And if it's positive, you just keep the number. That's it. And then you give it the output. It's weird that I'm calling this output array, because there is a different output array out here, but this one's different. But honestly, it doesn't really have to be anymore. I could just put this in here right after the forward pass, and it could also affect the output array. And then I don't even need to give it the inputs, because it has access to the output array. It just modifies it. Literally would loop over the output array, which it already does. It loops over the output array and then change the output array and then give it back changed. It wouldn't even have to give it back changed, because it's literally just changing it in the class. Maybe that's a better spot to do that, because it's less, again, slightly less complicated. The more times that I could do that, like just simplify it a little bit, the easier it is to understand. Okay, I think I actually like where things are at now. I could make that small change. You know, I will make that small change. How will this impact how things are working right now? It won't, because I think I actually already wrote it incorrectly. Oh no, it won't, because I'm calling activation inside the other function now. So it's literally just the organization basically. So I put it right after the forward pass, so it's makes more sense. So that way I could say everything below here is all for training the network. I honestly don't even need it in the same file. It really doesn't have to be in the same file actually, except for some of them apply to the class itself. But it doesn't have to. If I give it the input array, the randomness, I could have it alter it that way. It might make more sense. So what I want to do here, I want to paste our activation function and then change it so it no longer uses inputs, because it has them. It has the output array already. So we literally delete this output array because we have it, because we're in the class now, and we have the actual output array. We don't need to make a copy of it. We don't return anything because we're changing the real array, and we don't return anything again. Yeah. And that looks so much nicer. It's not very different, but it just looks nicer, because people are like, oh, it's literally just an if statement in a for loop. That's an activation function. And the only thing we have to do here is actually make it simpler, because we don't give it the forward output array. Oh, okay. So the thing is, output array doesn't equal the outputs yet. until... That's why we're passing it in. So all that I have to do is just take this out of the else statement, which actually I feel like makes it even simpler as well. And it makes sense with this comment. So you just get rid of this else statement and it works as well. Nice. It is getting simpler. If use activation is true, we apply the activation to the I'm guessing there's too many comments in this code. It's a template, so I really want it to be like you could look at this without even having a video and be able to read what it's doing. I'm basically putting the script for the video in the code. Everything below this point is for training / modifying the network. I think I spelled modifying right for the first time. No, is that? Definitely. Okay. So this start thing is actually screwing with the drone AI. Because we initialize all the layers and then when it updates the scripts, it doesn't reinitialize them, or we don't want to restart them though. Okay, let's just do one more once over of this and then I'm going to move to something else because like I said, this is a little bit boring. These could be simplified a little bit, the values. Use this anywhere? No, it's garbage. Okay. This comment's actually not supposed to be here. It's really supposed to be down here. And you... Dang. I wonder if it would make more sense if I say input forward. Input activation. I don't think this makes it any easier. No, let's just leave it at that for now. Okay, let's move on to some anything more interesting. These drones are quite interesting. Let's see how they look right now. Is that it? Did I break something? Oh, okay. It's actually in that. Cannot implicitly convert type void to float. Oh, that's true. We don't even return anything. We're actually changing the output array. Am I not able to do that? Is that why I didn't do it before? So if output array equals null, we're setting it here. So it should exist no matter what when we get to here, so it's fine. I might have went a step too far with simplicity and actually made it more confusing by making it simple, but we'll see. Inputs does not exist in the current context. But yes, inputs. Everything's with respect to output array. Oh wait, so we don't even do this because that makes no sense to do. So it's even simpler. The activation function. It's literally just if it's negative, make it 0. Otherwise, leave it alone. I like that. Nice. We're getting rid of lines of code left and right. And we organized it better so that way everything at the bottom half is for training the network. I think we're in a good place here to make this and leave it how it is. And it's cool because once you have all this set up, like I have it all here, if you just want to use the neural network, you give it the inputs right here, and it gives you the outputs. That's not including training it, but once you want to use it, that's all you do. So I'm actually planning on trying to fly a real drone with this, and this is all I'm going to need. Because I'm going to train it in the simulation, and then on the actual drone, I'm going to put just the forward pass activation function layers information like we have here, and it's just gonna run that. I'll probably actually convert this code into Python so I could run it on a Raspberry Pi or Arduino, which I actually just got here. It's a little Arduino. I got that for that purpose. Okay, so speaking of flying the drone, the real drone, there is some thought process behind flying a real drone from a simulation. So I want to train it in the simulation, but then have that training carry over to the real world. So the only issue with that is I need to make sure that my simulation inputs look the same as the real life inputs. And I'm not going to really know exactly how that looks until I get my hand on the rest of the hardware tomorrow. But I bought specific hardware to make it the same. Because right now, all that the drone sees is a target in the sky, is the location of a target in the sky. So this is the same thing as a GPS coordinate. And the inputs to the drone are its position and rotation with respect to the target, I believe. But let's actually take a look at our drone script. I'm speculating. You don't have to be. Our actual neural network script here. So this is what a neural network script looks like when you try to make it fly a drone. It gets a little bit longer and less readable. But it started off with the same base as I was just working with before I made it a lot easier to understand. So the inputs are right here. We have the distance to the target. So we calculate that by just getting the position of the drone with the GPS and the GPS target location, because these spheres aren't going to exist in real life. So my goal is just have the drone start off by flying around in open air, and then maybe we'll make it more complicated in the future. That maybe is very loose, because I don't think it's going to get much more complicated the way that we're training it. But I would like to see if we can make a real drone go point to point in the air the same way we're doing right now. That's why I don't have any obstacles in the simulation yet, because my goal is just go point to point. So we have drone rotation. We have the rotation in the X and Z. We don't even need the Y, because X and Z is being balanced. Y is just spinning. And then we have the current velocity, which we could get. The rotation of the target. So that's how many, like, we could figure that out somehow. Rotation of target Y is just whether or not it's left or right of the drone, of the front of the drone. That's what that means. So we calculate that as well, because I am in the simulation. We'll probably calculate it a similar way. And then we need the distance Y. Y. That's like the height. Oh, I get that. Because without the distance in the y-axis, I remember I added that before. The drone had no idea what altitude to fly at. This is basically telling the drone how high to fly, because it knows the distance, how far it is away from the target, but it doesn't have any reference as to how high to fly. It knows the distance and the angle, and that's enough to fly on a 2D plane. But to know what height to be at, that's what the Y is for. So you try to make that 0. Okay, so now for our actual drone, maybe I'll show you guys my crazy diagram. Here it is. In order to get that rotational information, we need a gyroscope, which is this little guy right here. And then to get the GPS position, which will be the X, Y, and Z coordinates in space, which is how we figure out the altitude, and also the angle is using the GPS as well, because you need the two positions to figure out the angle between the two. So that's what this guy is right here. That's our GPS. And this is on this guy, which came today. All the other parts are coming tomorrow. And this guy gets powered with a little battery, which is also here. And then, after we get the whole drone set up, that's just the drone half of it. We also want, that's just our sensors, that's our inputs to the network, come from here. Our outputs from the network are going to be interesting, because we're using a DJI FPV drone, and there's not really an easy way to communicate with it. If I had an FPV drone that I made myself, which I probably will do in the future, I would be able to talk to it a lot easier. But DJI is hard to communicate, and in fact, this is the only controller in the world that works with this drone. So I can't even get a different controller that works better. So you have to use this to control this, basically. There's no bypassing it unless you figure out something tricky, I guess. But what I'm planning on doing is actually connecting these servo motors to the controller. I already got the motors too. And having it be a little string that's attached to it in both directions. And it's just going to control the joystick. These red things are rubber bands. So that's why I only need 2 motors, because they have an opposing force always. So by default, this joystick is going to be in the bottom left. And then when like a motor pulls it, it will pull it to the right or up. And you should be able to center it that way. I'm going to see how accurate these things are through trial and error. Um, and this whole thing is running on a Raspberry Pi with all the servo motors. But in order to run all these servo motors, I had to buy a servo um, board that powers it, because the Raspberry Pi could only really handle one servo motor without failing. So I had to buy this expansion hat that goes on top. And the annoying thing about this guy is, I'm not sure if you could tell all those pins in there and down at the bottom, they aren't soldered. So I had to buy a soldering iron and I have to solder every single one of those pins. I think somebody said it's like 70 pins. So I haven't soldered in a very long time, and when I did, I was very bad at it because I was in like middle school or high school. So I think it was actually just middle school. I don't think I soldered in high school. So I have the soldering skills of a middle schooler. So we'll see how that goes. But I did buy a better soldering iron than I used when I was younger. And this has a power supply. And the very last piece, which I'm not even sure if I'm going to use, are these little pulleys, just to make the string more consistent. I'm just going to put it on it. I think I will use it. And I also started making a 3D model as well. I don't think I have that open. That's fine. But I'm going to basically make a stand for the controller to sit in, with all these poles going up the side with the pulleys at the top. It's going to be interesting. So I really don't know what else to work on right now. There is a lot I could work on, but don't know what else I want to work on right now. I think I kind of just want to wait for these parts to arrive tomorrow so I could start messing with them. I'm not sure if I'll do it on stream or not. It could be interesting to have like a top-down view of my desk and just we figure it out together. Yeah. Well, let's take a look at our to-dos real quick. I did say I was going to hop over to Twitch at some point, but I think I'm just going to do that tomorrow, because while I was taking my dogs out, I realized, I was just thinking, I realized that my Twitch might not really be set up the way that I want it to be streamed to right away. Like I might have to change some settings or set up the description of it better. So I might do that before streaming, possibly tomorrow. And tomorrow's stream could possibly be a hardware stream combined with some software, which will be fun. I haven't worked with hardware too much in the past, except for very small things, and I kind of bit off a little bit more than I could chew at this project. So it's gonna be fun. Oh, I was working on a different to-do. Alright, so there's no to-dos on this page, but basically I reorganized the neural network script, which I have on a whiteboard, so I can check it off somewhere. Okay. That was pretty productive there. So anything else I want to do with the drone AI? I want to fix the way that looks. That looks horrible. I mean, it's alright. It really shows you which ones you're focused on. But that halo is not looking too good. Not looking hot. I like the score up there. You might want to add some information about it and possibly get rid of the decimals, because that's just nonsense information. Honestly, we can move the decimal over 2 places for the score. Nobody really cares what units this is. But maybe it's just going up so fast because the game's double speed as well. But basically the score is how far the drones have progressed along the path. So if they go further away from the path, they'll lose their score. the score will go down, actually. It's not a kind of score that you just keep adding to. It's a magnitude distance on the track. If that makes sense. I don't know, this little glowing effect is growing on me. I don't like it when I first turn it on, but it makes it really easy to see which one you're focusing on. But it just is missing a little something. It's a little too faded. Like, it makes the drone... It's on top of the drone when it should be... I don't know. Just looking a little different. Okay, another thing that oh wait, I don't want that still running. Sorry. Another project that I was messing with is the evolution simulator. I actually put in the title of this stream because I thought I would work on it first a little bit more. But I want to make a part 2 to this video. This video was a lot of fun to make, and it's really what kicked off my Unity simulations. So I added a couple little things, not very much. Trees and apples is one small thing. I added this graph in the background, which everything's looking very small right now. Sorry about that. So this is taking up way more room than it needs to because there's nothing on it. Okay. So the simulation's freezing a little bit because they finally learned how to eat. So it's basically a wave of them eating all the apples. But the green line is actually how much food there is. Actually, no. The green line is how many creatures there are. The red line is how much food there is, because the apples are red. But they're both red, so it didn't really... It's hard to choose which line to do for that. So this is how many apples are left. It's red with a yellow tip, if that makes sense. And then the blue line is how many predators there are, because that's another thing that I added. I added a wolf kind of thing. And it's very simple right now. But basically the wolf is also training at the same time. There it is. You can see that little gray wolf. There's only one to start, and it's not doing very well, which is why that line and all the way over there is just like flatlined. But eventually it will figure it out because it has a neural network in it as well. So it's trying to learn how to chase the food and the creatures, and the creatures are just trying to eat food. Currently, the creatures do not have a way to sense the wolves or the enemies, and they're just kind of like sitting ducks. They just go about their day without even realizing that the wolves exist. So that would be something that I would want to change. I would want to give them some sort of sensor. I think raycasts could work, but raycasts are very inefficient, and that's another thing that I changed about the simulation. It was very slow before. Like, I couldn't run it with this many creatures before, and this isn't even a lot. But if I add raycasts to every single one, I know that would make it even worse. So I'm unsure of what to do about that, but I do like how raycasts work, because they're kind of like eyes or sensors. And another thing about this simulation, I'll slow it down a bit. Where did I put the slowdown function? I know it's in a weird place. It's in the floor, isn't it? This was before I knew how to use Unity, so I wouldn't make game objects with scripts on them. I would put them on random things. The game speed is not one. So yeah, it's not even on that floor. What floor are you on? So confused. Oh, this ground. Okay. Yeah, for some reason it's on one of the grounds, and that's where the game speed is. So I can make it 20 now. I used to not be able to make it that fast before I made it more efficient. The reason they're jittering so much is because I actually have the physics update lower to make it even more efficient. Just for the training. You could change that even during runtime. So they normally wouldn't jitter like that if had it running normally. But you could see the wolves started eating at some point while I was talking. I didn't even really notice. And their graphs spiked up a little bit. Maybe that's a little too close to the ground. And they start to learn how to eat. And they actually survive pretty well together because of the way that the simulation is set up. Because it's larger. And when they have children, they reproduce next to each other, kind of like in real life, with a slight offset, so it's not right on top of each other. But what that does is it leaves pockets of food abundance that creatures can find after the wolves like over what is that word for overhunting something? Well, anyways, they wipe an area clean from all creatures first, which they're kind of doing to this whole area. But then that allows the food to grow back a lot, and then when they move to another area, the creatures rotate. So it's kind of like this game of like tag where they just keep rotating around the map. It's pretty cool. I'm gonna make a video about just that topic, I think, in the future, because it's something that's a little interesting, and I actually heard about it first from a college professor that I sat in on a lecture for. And he was actually noticing it in real life with water bugs, I believe, like the kind of little bugs that run on top of the water. And that's how I know that it's happening, and that's kind of why I increased the size of the map, just to see if it would happen. To see if that kind of behavior would allow the creatures to find like an equilibrium better. And it did. I should probably reach out to that guy and let him see this. But eventually they do kind of find an equilibrium. Sometimes the wolves win, occasionally, and it restarts, but it takes a little while. And if the map was even bigger, that would happen even less often, because it's the less odds that they wipe everybody out. So yeah, I'm not sure if I actually have a to-do list for this project yet. I don't think I do. I think I might somewhere else, but I need to just add one. So let's just add a board in here. Just make it new. So some things that I want to do for this is second. Sure that works. I want to, what's the first thing that I was talking about? Give, well, I can't call them creatures anymore because they're all kind of creatures. Give, prey ability to detect, predators. Most likely with raycasts. That's what I think I'm probably gonna do, is use a raycast for that. But oops. Sometimes you just rename things in here. Like if I just press add, okay, yeah, that's easier. Another thing that I wanted to do was change their motion. I didn't mention that yet. All creatures. So right now they move in a very rigid way. They just use the WASD keys, basically. They could only go forward, diagonal, left, right, back, and they can only move on the diagonals or the horizontals. But what I want them to be able to do is actually like use angles to turn and then move, or move and turn at the same time, instead of moving like they're in a video game, which they are, but it makes them move like in zigzags, and I'd rather them move smoothly, like try to run around. I think that would be cooler looking. So change the motion of all creatures is what's on there. Especially if we give them raycasts, it'll help them turn to use the raycasts as like sweeping sensors. If they could adjust their angle gradually, or turn gradually instead of just turning instantly. Let's just delete these. Usually get rid of the no status column, but it's okay. What else could we do with the evolution simulator specifically? We can possibly add more creature types. There's wolves and there's whatever the other guys are, lion, pig things. But I wonder if we could have like an actual ecosystem. That's kind of what I wanted to try. We'll start off with just predator prey, because that's fun. But then if we could make it a whole ecosystem, that'd be cool. But then we'd have to figure out what kind of traits each creature would have, and that just leads to a bunch of feature creep, where I just have to implement a lot of random behaviors. You know what would be cool? Having one of the creatures be a flying one and have it be powered by the drones. It wouldn't fly very majestically, but it would be kind of cool. Or we can make an airplane AI and just put a bird in that instead of a drone, so it could fly smoother. Drones could be hummingbirds. Getting ahead of myself here because I'm probably not going to do any of that, what I just said. But also making their needs more complicated too, because right now there's no water, there's no shelter. I'm not sure if we want shelter. Oh, something that I just have to do, not something that I want to do, is this is a very old simulation, so the scripts in here are also old, and they're bad. This was I think over a year ago now, which is kind of crazy. I don't really use Unity that much, but I learned a lot in about a year. Just making simulations. I'm not even making a game. I might try to tackle a game soon, having to do with drones. But my organization skills in Unity are much better, because my motto in the beginning was just, oh, I'll just write it in this one file and I'll get it to work and then I'll separate it later. That doesn't happen. Once you get it working, you don't want to touch it, especially when you're learning it. So what I did wrong was, instead of having like a nice script for neural networks and a nice one for the movement, one for the scoring system, and the round handling, like the one that handles all of the creatures, I just have one script that does everything, and it's a mess. So my to-do is fixing my old problems that I made. Reorganize scripts. Possibly update. Actually, you know what? Yeah. And update with new neural network template. This could be like one of the first cases that I use the new template for, because it will make it a lot easier to. It's already separated out basically. I'll just replace the logic for a neural network in here with the new one, and it should work better. I don't think it will work better. We'll do the same thing, but it will just look better and be easier to understand. Oh, why is this doing that? So this graph is not working the way it's supposed to. It's supposed to go from 0 to 100, not 0 to 50, like percent across the map. That's okay. So one of the reasons why I want to add more complexity is because, as you kind of see, they figured it out. It didn't take them very much training to learn how to find the food, and for the creatures, for the predator to find the prey. Their movement's pretty much close to how you would program it if you wanted them to find the food. Pretty much. They could learn a little bit more, but they eventually do. And once they get a basic ability to find food, there isn't that much pressure on the creatures for them to really optimize it. But I think that if we make it more complicated, that pressure will make the AI train and learn more through evolution. This music sounds louder than normal. That's interesting. Okay. So I don't know if I should oops, what did I do? Okay, yeah, no, it's not. I don't know if I should include in the drone AI the hardware issues. Not issues, but like the hardware tasks. They're kind of separate, aren't they? Because this is the simulation to do. But when I actually start building things, it's going to be a whole different set of to-dos. So maybe I could just add it in here. Hardware to do, and that's a new page. Oh, look at that. It automatically made me a little icon. That's funny. Where's the board? I just left Kanban boards everywhere. I should really set up a nice Notion system in here. This is my streaming Notion. It's actually separate from my main Notion. Because my main one has just like so much stuff in it, and it's super organized, but super overwhelming. Not really for me, but just because for someone to look at. And I literally have everything in there, so that's why I have a separate Notion. I don't know why these start with this. But for the hardware stuff, I have to do a lot. I don't even think I'm gonna write this during this stream, because I have to get all the hardware tomorrow. You know what? Let's just do a little thought exercise. I'll probably end the stream with this because I am going to try to wake up early again tomorrow. I woke up at like 6 today. It's already 11. So if I want to get 7 hours of sleep, I should go to bed now. Okay, so one of the things I have to do, I'm just going to list the tasks kind of out of order, however they pop into my head. So 3D model the stand for controller, pulley, and motors. Another thing that we have to do is, there's a lot. There's a lot. Solder the pins to the servo PWM. 70 pins that I can't mess up. And then I need to program servos, motor logic. All right, let's do this side by side with our little diagram. Okay. So we have the servos. We have the pins that I have to solder. This is what the stuff I'm talking about. I need to figure out how to communicate these two together. It uses Wi-Fi, so I'm not sure if that's the best way to do it, or if somehow I could use some sort of radio frequency to send information. That would probably mean buying another piece of hardware, which I don't want to do. They both have Wi-Fi, so I think what I could do is connect a router directly to this. I'll bring it out to a field somewhere, but I'll plug a router into my car, so it's just running, and connect both of these to it and see what kind of range we could get. I saw online that it only goes up to 200 to 300 feet, so I'm hoping that we could get at least that. We might need to figure out a better solution if that's all we could get. But because ideally I'd like to fly this thing pretty high when I turn on the AI, because I don't want it to crash right away. We only get one shot at training with this thing, so I want to train it in the air, not near anything that it could crash into. And a cool thing about this drone, the DJI drone, is that there is actually a pause button. So if things start going wrong, I just press the button and the drone hovers in place. The only problem is that this was just a little practice. That's not actually how it's gonna look. I was just brainstorming that having a rubber band here would keep the default position of the joysticks in the bottom corner, the bottom inside corner. So when I push this pause button, is this gonna keep it going down still because I have it pulled down? I think it might. So I might have to figure out a way to center them if I press that pause button. I mean, I could just use my thumbs to hold it in place, but that's gonna be a little uncomfortable. Fighting the rubber bands. Also, when I'm flying too, like if I'm taking it up in the beginning, I don't want to have to fight with the rubber bands the whole time. So it would be cool to add some sort of mechanism that releases the tension of the rubber bands when I don't want it. Whoops. I'll just add a new one until. So I have this gyroscope already, and I have the Arduino, so I could work on that right away. So what I want to do is program Arduino to use gyroscope. And then connect Arduino to Wi-Fi and get it to communicate with the Raspberry Pi. I don't really know how to do that yet. That's a loaded to do. I know that you can connect this to Wi-Fi. This also connects to the same Wi-Fi, but then somehow I gotta use some sort of port to communicate with these two. That's all I know so far. Maybe I could use like an ActiveMQ messaging. Possibly. I don't know. Oh, I also have to figure out the housing for everything. Model / figure out, or yeah, I think it's the other way around. It's figure out / model the housing for Arduino and friends. I wasn't sure if I'd do this on stream, but since I'm making the to-do on stream, I think it could be a fun project. It's all the stuff that I could really think of right now. Eventually I do need to connect the GPS, so program Arduino to use GPS. And then after we get all the GPS information, the gyroscope information, we have to convert. Maybe, you know what, maybe this will be on the Raspberry Pi side of things, but still we have to do it. Convert raw sensor data into the inputs for our network. Okay. We also have to, another thing that I have to do is simulate the, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I have to simulate the motors basically. Because right now in the simulation, the drone has control directly over the values here. But in the real world situation, there's going to be a middleman of the motor. So I want to somehow simulate the path of the motor and the speed of it in Unity. So what I have to do is first get it all hooked up, time how quickly these move, and then limit the speed of the joystick in the simulation to match that speed. And there is a slight curve to this, so unless I figure out a way to make that a linear pull, there's going to be a slight adjustment that needs to be made to the input, the output of the network before it becomes an input to the drone. Simulate servo motion in Unity. Okay. It's actually not that many to-dos when you think about it, and that's most of the main tasks. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of little things that pop up and then get in the way, and we're going to find workarounds for, but I tried to plan it out very well before I even purchased anything, because I wanted to make sure that it could theoretically work. I have no idea. There's a lot of unknowns in this situation. For one, is this GPS accurate enough to give us the same information that the neural network is training on? And if not, we might have to simulate bad information by adding randomness to it or something. Same thing with the gyroscope. I think that this is much more accurate than the GPS because it's just on board. So that I'm not too worried about. And I've seen this work because I've had this from a kit a while ago. I didn't actually have to buy this. I already had it. Yeah. It's going to be an interesting project. So I think I will be streaming tomorrow at some point, possibly noon-ish, possibly. That's if I stream at all. My stream schedule is very sporadic. I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, another thing is, if you're watching this right now, I might stream on Twitch tomorrow at some point. I'm not sure if I'm going to start on Twitch, but I think I will definitely switch to Twitch at some point because I was going to do it tonight, but I don't think I have everything set up for Twitch yet. But it is twitch.tv/Johnny_codes. That's my new Twitch name. It used to be John the Marksman, but I think I outgrew that middle school gamer tag. So I changed it the other day, and I'm also changing the branding of the Twitch channel to reflect my current interests. All right. Oh boy, what happened here? Something broke. I genuinely don't know what happened. But oh well. We'll end the stream on a broken Evolution Simulator. Thank you guys for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the questions. And yeah, I think I made a lot of good progress today. Looking forward to making a new video about all of this stuff. I'm kind of not doing it right, because normally you're supposed to make one thing at a time. Make one thing, make a video, make another thing, make a video, make another thing, make a video. I'm doing 3 different things at once, and I feel like the videos are all going to line up around the same time, so I'm just going to stagger them. Like, I should be working on one thing at a time, but I jump around way too much because it's just more interesting that way. But if you want me to guess the order of how things are going to come out, I think it will be the neural network tutorial is going to be coming out soon, because that's just me walking through the code that I simplified today. That should be easy. It doesn't even have to be that polished, because it's not really a discoverable video. It's more for people that are interested in code. So that will come out first, the tutorial for that, and then possibly the second version of the Evolution Simulator. But that's if I don't get too caught up with the drone AI and make that first, because that I'm kind of interested in trying. It's like a challenge. Making the drone AI fly a real drone, that is. And then, so if I do the drone AI first, then this will come after. But somewhere in that time frame, either during or after, I'm going to do a part 2 to the tutorial version, where I actually show people how to set up the training environment like an Evolution Simulator, or a round-based system like a race for the drones and the cars. So that's my timeline. Thank you guys for stopping by. I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next